Hello everyone. So today we're going to have another video. So let us have a little recap about our previous discussions under the subject Understanding the Self. So the first topic under Understanding the Self was the self in philosophical perspective. The second one was the self in sociological perspective. And our lesson for today, which is the third topic under that subject, is the self in anthropological perspective. So we knew that under the philosophical perspective, they view the self as the body and soul, the body and mind. In sociological perspective, they viewed the self was influenced by different factors from the society or in the society. So let us know today what is the view of anthropological perspective of the self. So first, let us define what is anthropology. Anthropology is a science and philosophical description of the life form, Homo Sapiens or the thinking self. The science of anthropology is doctrinahumanaenaturae. Includes the bodily characteristics of human as well as their spiritual, psychic, and moral dignity. So, in short, the study of philosophy is the about the life form. We we are that life form, the Homo sapiens, or the thinking man. What are the focal points of anthropology? Man in the physical, cultural, and existential features with the purpose of gaining a deeper understanding of man's place in the world. So the main point in the study of anthropology is about the man's physical, cultural, and the existential features. So let us define now what is culture. Culture is a system of human behavior and thought. This is from Edward Taylor. Edward Taylor is an anthropologist. So we know that culture in Filipino is the kultura. So ang kultura ng Pilipino ay iba sa kultura ng ibang mga lahi dahil nagkakaiba-iba tayo sa iba't ibang bagay. So there are a lot of things which we should consider in culture. So in culture, it includes the language, religion, the child rearing method, our foods, folk arts, celebrations, jokes, manners, clothing, and our working schedule. So the culture of the Philippines is different from other nations. So let us now know the cultural influences that shapes the self. So ano ba yung mga nakaapekto sa the self in culture, in cultural perspective or anthropological perspective? So the first component is the material. So material component pertains to all tangible materials that are inherited from the previous generations. This is the most obvious component because of its physical nature. So we can say that the material component are the tangible. Tangible is the nakahawakan. Ito yung mga pinamanang mga bagay mula sa isang henerasyon sa isang henerasyon. So in the photos, you can see that the using of palayok is an example of material component because it was used before and we are still using it now. Another one is the using of Barong Tagalog, Barong Saya, using of wood bag, and bayong, and sungka, and many other things. So yung mga pinamana ng ating mga ninuno sa atin na nahahawakan natin are the examples of material component. Another examples of material component are the wallis thing. So the wallis thing was from the previous generation, and it was passed to us, right? And the bahay kubo and the jeepney. The next component is the cognitive component. Cognitive component are divided into ideas, knowledge, beliefs, values, and accounts. So, hindi lang mga bagay ang pinamana sa atin or nakaapekto sa ating pagkatao. Diba? Nakaapekto din sa atin ang mga paniniwala, mga nalalaman, mga values, mga pinamana sa atin. Diba? Hindi lang mga bagay ang pinamana sa atin, kundi mga ugali. Example are the being religious, pagiging marespeto. So, the material component and this cognitive component affects us as a person. Diba? Iba din ang epekto ng mga material component and cognitive component sa ibang culture sa kanila. So, culture greatly affects our self as a person. The next component is the normative component. So, what are the things under normative component? Social norms. Social norms are the accepted standards of behavior of social groups. Subheading. This group range from friendship and work groups to nation states. So, social norms, in short, is yung mga behavior na tanggap sa ating lipunan. Ang social norm ay hinahati sa dalawa. It's divided into two. The first one is the Folkway. Folkway are the general rules of customary and habitual ways and patterns of expected behaviors in the society. So, ito yung mga ugaling dapat ipakita natin kapag nasa labas tayo. Wala man sa ating batas, pero we should follow those norms or yung mga activity na ganun. For example, we don't answer the call in a public vehicle with a very loud voice, diba? So, we always consider the feelings of other people kapag gagawin natin to. Diba hindi siya katanggap-tanggap na gawin ganon. If you do that, titignan ka ng mga tao na ano bang ginagawa nito, ganon, diba? So, folkways are the general rules na dapat nating sinusunod. Ano pa? Kapag makikikain tayo sa mga handaan, so, the folkway for that is kunin mo lang yung pagkain na kaya mong ubusin. Kasi kapag kumuha ka ng pagkain na hindi mo naubos, they will view you as a guest na takaw. Kasi, or takaw tikim, sabi nila. Because, ang dami mong kinuha na hindi mo naubos. So, that is not good. Right? Another example under social norm is the mores. So, mores are refers to the special folkway that are generally emphasized because they are deemed necessary for the society, for the welfare of the society. So, the most common example for mores right now is the using of masks and keeping your distance, because by doing this, we are also thinking other people's welfare. And mores are mandated by the law. Sinusunod natin to because of the laws associated to these practices. So, diba dito sa Pilipinas, if you don't use or wear mask, magmumulta ka, diba? So, yan. So, let us go to the mechanism of cultural change. Bakit nga ba nagbabago ang ating kultura na nakakaapekto din sa atin bilang isang tao? So, bakit nga ba nag-iiba ang kultura? Because there is no such thing as a constant. There is no society that is constant. Nagbabago talaga ang kultura. It evolves from one period to another period. An example of uh, bakit nag-iba ang kultura or the cultural change is the cultural lag. Let us define cultural lag. One must take into account both social need and cultural goal as mentioned above. Every cultural goal is anchored on social need. So, kapag ang isang practice ay it needs improvement and may dumating na pamalit doon, cultural lag happen. For example is in the photo. Before, we used animals in plowing our fields and as a helper to the farmers. But because of the technological advancement of agriculture, animals are no longer used in plowing fields and many other things. They use machineries for that. So the cultural lag there is the usage of or the using of animals in agriculture. Yeah. And many other things. So right now we are having a cultural lag on the usage of classrooms because of the pandemic. We were forced, I guess, to use the digital classrooms like this. And yeah, maybe that happens to classrooms. Cultural lag na din yun. Kasi baka hindi na tayo bumalik sa dating classroom setting. Another one is cultural borrowing. It is a situation where one society borrows the culture of another society and uses it as new part of the culture. So, bakit nag-iiba ang culture? Kasi, nagbaborrow tayo ng ibang kultura, ng ibang practices sa ibang kultura. For example, we stopped using borrowed saya because we borrowed the culture of the Western nation, di ba? We use jeans and t-shirts right now and other dresses. As a change to the way we dressed before. So what else? Before we are so fond of teledrama or telenovela, but now we are actually borrowing the culture of gay drama as a substitute to our former to the movies that's available right now or to the scenes, diba? Yes. Another one is the popularity of milk tea. Yeah. And the samyapsal. So those are cultural borrowing. So we are adopting those things and it becomes part of our culture now because of that. So how does culture affects us as the self? So the way culture affects us, it affects us. So with the cultural change, it also affects us as a person, as a Filipino, of course. So I believe that the Filipino culture is a mixture of a lot of other cultures because we are cultural borrowing and we tend to have cultural lag. So because we are colonized by a lot of other nations, we tend to adopt those cultures that they have and we mix it to our own Filipino culture. So as I can say that our culture as a Filipino is a mixture of Japanese, Chinese, Spanish, American, and many other cultures. So I hope you learned something today. Thank you for listening. Please don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel for more lessons like this.